What's going on, everybody? Nick Powell's publisher, 1851franchise.com. Today, what I'm talking to you about is how you, as a franchisor or a franchisee, can leverage the state information that's coming out on 1851franchise.com. If you have been on our site this month, what you can see is information by state that we're pulling out to give you a little bit more guidance into how that state is behaving from an economic outlook. And we're pulling it from the ALEC-Laffer report. So, for instance, here's Maryland's. And so we look at where are they ranked as a state, and we're starting to dive into what is the data and how is it relevant back to you as a franchise brand. And so here's the way that I would approach this. All franchise brands, you create some sort of growth strategy. Do you want to grow in a concentric circle? Are you going to sell wherever a broker or franchise consultant is going to offer up deals? What is this typical growth strategy that you're going to leverage? And what I love about the state's economic outlook report is that it gives you really good data into what is the value of the dollar and what is the value of life as it relates to that state. And so when I look at this roadmap, this is the actual PDF of rich states, poor states. And so number one is Utah. And Utah has remained number one at the top of this list. And so if I'm a franchisor, why would I want to expand into Utah or include it on my list of states that I should be looking at? And it's because of this. What that means is that the value of the dollar goes farther and the happiness level of lifestyle is higher, meaning in the state of Utah, the cost of living is lower, the salaries could be higher as it relates back to economic conditions, commuting could be less, air quality could be higher. And so when you start taking all of those materials or all those insights and cross-applying it back to the value of the dollar, now if real estate is cheaper and you as a franchisor report an average unit volume, the idea is as long as you can hold on to the same averages or higher within that state and the costs are lower, then the franchisee success metrics actually increase and their likelihood for success increases because their dollar ends up being worth more. So for instance, I'll take Illinois. I'm sitting in Chicago right now. Illinois is number 46. So let's say I want to open up Nick's Pizza brand, and it costs me, on average, the average range to open up a Nick's Pizza brand is somewhere between $600,000 and $800,000. Well, in the state of Illinois, it's probably going to push closer to $800,000 to get open. Now we look at taxes. Taxes are a little bit higher. So the dollars that actually drop to my bottom line, I'm going to pay more taxes on that. My customers are going to pay more on taxes. Cost of living is higher. So customer acquisition or market share of the dollar is higher. And if I just break that through, the cost of me doing business in Illinois is much greater than that of me doing it in North Carolina. And now it doesn't mean that me as a human, Nick is not going to say, I'm going to go open up the pizza brand in another state because the state works better, other than the sense that you hear Texas and Florida tend to be really, really friendly business states. But it's not like I'm going to go move, but it gives you an insight that if you're saying, okay, the way that I want to grow as a brand, if I want to grow, does Illinois go to the top of my list? Or if let's find something in the Midwest, Indiana is number 7. Do I go into Indiana instead, knowing that the dollar is going to stretch farther? Ultimately, as a franchisor, you're going to make your money off of royalties, and royalties come from gross sales. And so we want higher gross sales. And so when we start looking at all of this information, this is a quick view into it. I like it because if I'm trying to prioritize growth into states where the cost of living is lower and the value of the dollar is higher and taxes are stronger, then it starts giving me some sort of sense of how can I have the best potential of building and cultivating franchisees who are going to have great returns, good volumes, gross volumes, and be within a state that has reasonable living scenarios. And so when you start breaking down all this data again, like it's all here in this report, and I love this because it gives us tremendous insights into so many different things, and you can start seeing like where are all the rankings and how does it relate, and then you can start diving into this. So let's look at Alabama and the way that they're reporting it through a competitiveness factor. So over here, income tax rates, property tax burden on where do they rank, sales tax burden, real estate, average workers' comp. And so this helps guide it into where does that state fall. And then you can start looking at the consistency of where does it behave. So Alabama is just sticking somewhere in the middle of it. And so what we've done at 1851 is we've tried to make this a lot easier for you to break this down and give you a good view into how is that state behaving or working so that you have some sort of sense. So here in the state of Maryland, which is holding steady at the bottom, it's in the bottom 20% of states. According to the most recent data from the SBA, Maryland has 600,000 small businesses, which make up 99.5% of Maryland businesses. The small businesses employ 1.2 million. And so we broke down all the information so that you have the tools to work through this and get a good sense of, is Maryland a state that you want to grow in, and how can you get in front of it? So this gives you a lot of information into whether that state makes sense. What we also did is we broke down brands that are expanding there so that you can get a little bit more sense into why are they expanding there. And then to make it easy for everybody who's reading this, you can see all the franchise brands that we have found that are based there. So it gives you a good sense into here are brands that are actually there, which means it's probably one of their priority states. From should I buy if I'm in a bottom state, let's go to some of the bottom ones. New York, Vermont, Minnesota, New Jersey, Illinois, California, Maine, Oregon, Hawaii, Maryland, Rhode Island. Those are the bottom. Should that prevent me from buying a franchise in these? No, because this isn't the reality is the ALEC-Laffer State Economic Outlook report isn't just franchising. It's not. It's all of small business. And so it's a little bit, it's not misleading information. It's more so it's good to have this information, but it doesn't stop hustle, grit, tenacity that a franchisee is going to go into that market and actually fight to have success here. So it doesn't mean you don't buy in these states by any means. It just means that $1 in New York is going to diminish faster than $1 in Utah. And so again, if I'm a franchisor, I would say if I focus on the top 25 states as my primaries, make sure they fall in there. If I'm growing in the Southeast, Florida's there, Georgia's there, Tennessee is kind of in the middle, Michigan, Wisconsin in the Midwest. It just starts giving me a good tool to understand that if I can make the dollar worth more, the odds of my franchisee scaling might go up. And if I'm a franchisee, the odds of if my dollar is worth more, the odds of me scaling goes up, which means I'll have a better shot at winning whatever I'm trying to accomplish when it comes to wealth building with my franchise. So again, 1851, we use this as an opportunity to break down these states a little bit more. And so if you are a franchisor and you're saying, here are the top 10 states that I want to go into, if you were just to Google 1851, the state, an economic outlook, it's going to give you at least the breakdown of how we've extracted the information from the ALEC-Laffer report, which I think is a phenomenal tool in gaining data and information, especially when it comes to understanding what states have the strongest economic outlook. So that's that. Hopefully you got some value out of this quick discussion. Make sure to subscribe to 1851's YouTube channel to gain more insights like this. Thanks for paying attention, and best of luck on your journey in franchising.